Imagine the entire Bitcoin network as a single gigantic tug-of-war rope. Every miner or producer of these blocks that produce Bitcoin grabs a spot on the rope to keep the ledger honest. Lately, 5 heavyweight teams have shifted up front and are pulling with more than 4/5 of the force. So if there is one slip from that small group, then the whole match could tilt in one direction. If you want to stay ahead of risks hiding in plain sight, today we're gonna go behind the Block Explorer to understand how it works and how you can protect yourself. So hit subscribe, like the video, it means so much to me, and let's get into today's video. Let's start inside the engine room of Bitcoin, the place most people never look. Imagine the network as a giant tug of war, as I said, made up of thousands of miners, or these people that produce blocks on the blockchain. The rope only stays centered when the weight is evenly spread out, or distributed, as we call it. The balance is what keeps every transaction honest, which is why we love Bitcoin and Bitcoin's blockchain. In Bitcoin speak, the weight is called hash rate. It's the raw computing force that miners aim at the chain to win new blocks and earn rewards. A single miner on their own is tiny, so most of them join pools. Think of pools as teams that split the prize money, like a force. And here's the key point. Security depends on no one team owning the rope. If one group ever gains control of most of the hash rate, which is roughly 51%, they could quietly rewrite recent blocks or chapters on the blockchain. They could hold up payments and censor addresses. That nightmare scenario is what we call a 51% attack.
51% attack. A 51% attack is an attempt to change or take over a blockchain by gaining more than 51% of the consensus share. In proof-of-work consensus, blockchains add a new block through a process known as mining. Miners compete to solve a difficult puzzle in order to earn a reward. The winner of the competition is proportional to how much computing power they contributed to the overall network. So if I contribute 1% of the Bitcoin mining power, then I have a 1% chance of winning the block reward. If I were to amass 51% of the network's mining power, then I'd have a 51% chance of mining the next block. With these odds, I'd be earning a lot of block rewards. However, I'd also be able to reverse previous transactions and prevent new transactions, because I will likely mine the next block and still control the network with no consequences.
So, where do we stand right now? Fresh data from April shows just 5 pools, 5 teams are cranking out about 82% of all new blocks. Even sharper, Foundry USA and Ant Pool together hover around the halfway mark, all on their own. When I first pulled these numbers, I had to double check them because the chart looks like a Pac-Man, basically, that already ate most of the dots. Decentralization is sliding quietly, block by block. Now you might ask, Jess, didn't Satoshi design the system to become more decentralized over time though? That was the dream. Yet the reality today is more concentration as opposed to decentralization, or distribution rather, of this hash rate power. Bigger pools mean steadier payouts, so smaller miners keep piling into these groups. And the cycle feeds on itself, they keep growing. So stay with me, because in the next part of today's video, we'll trace how we got here, from the ASIC arms race to the geopolitics of hash power, and why this silent squeeze could shape the future of every crypto holder. So, all right, how did we slip from Satoshi's dream of many small miners to this cramped handful of giants? First, the gear race turbocharged everything. Once cheap hobby rigs turned into room-size ASICs that burn power like jet engines. Only the deepest pockets can keep up. So smaller miners hitch their hardware to big pools just to stay alive. Next, look at the scoreboard. Foundry USA, Marapool, and a few friends in Texas and Georgia give the United States roughly 45% of the entire network. Over in Asia, Ampool via BTC and F2 Pool push China's slice to roughly 35%. Together, those two blocks already steer the majority of Bitcoin's engine and power. But it's tighter than the two public numbers show. Researchers noticed that several independent pools broadcast block templates identical to Ampool's, meaning they're likely just antennas relaying work from a single mothership. When you fold those hidden lines back in, Ampool's reach may jump from 16 to 30% all by itself. We've seen what pressure can do. Last December, F2 Pool left out a transaction tied to an OFAC sanctioned address, and developers flagged it within hours. Whether it was a glitch or quiet compliance, the incident proved a pool can filter the ledger when regulators lean in. Then add fresh economics. The Bitcoin halving cut block rewards in half. This happened last April. So miners rely on predictable revenue more than ever. Spot ETF demand props up price, but fees are still low, which nudges rigs toward the pools that promise smooth payouts and cheap electricity contracts. Consolidation snowballs from there. All of this rolls up into a single risk. The rope in Bitcoin's tug-of-war is bunching in just a few hands. Next, we'll see the counter moves, new protocols, grassroots tools, and how everyday users like you and I can pull that rope back into balance. Okay, we've seen the squeeze. Time to flip the spotlight onto and towards fixes that are already rolling out solutions. First up is a toolkit called Stratum v2. Think of it as a new language miners use to talk with pools, how to communicate. In the old system, pools were built with the entire block and miners just supplied raw power. With Stratum v2, every miner can choose which transactions go into the block, even while working inside of the pool. That single shift chops away the pool's ability to censor payments or quietly build a shadow chain. Developers at Brains have open sourced the code, and early adopters are already sending live blocks with it. Next, there's a fresh breed of non-custodial pools. One headline name is Ocean. It's backed by Jack Dorsey, the original creator behind Twitter, and core developer Luke Dashier. I think I'm saying it right. Ocean pays block rewards straight from the network to each miner's wallet. So the pool never holds your coins and can't freeze payouts. It also publishes every block template, giving the community and public audit trail or visibility and transparency into its management, right, of transactions. Grassroots coders are reviving P2P pool as well. P2P pool links miners directly to one another in a peer-to-peer web, letting small rigs earn steady income without handing control to a central operator. A new Rust rebuild went live in February and is looking for volunteers to point even a few terahash its way. And Rust is just a developer language, a coding language that's very popular in crypto. So what can everyday holders do? What can you and I do? You can spread your hash. So if you run an ASIC, steer it towards mid-size or decentralized pools that publish Stratum v2 roadmaps. You can run a full node. Validating your own transactions strengthens the network's immune system. You can support open source mining efforts, start the repos, test the releases, share the guides. Engineers are actually building solutions, but adoption is the hinge, is the linchpin. The wider we scatter hash power, the stronger Bitcoin's foundation grows. So I know this video is a bit highly technical, but if this deep dive helped you see or understand part of what happens behind the scenes, behind Block Explorer, I'm happy to hear this, and I just hope you pass it around to a friend who still thinks Bitcoin runs on autopilot or doesn't get how it works. And in any case, I'll see you in my next video. Smash the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and drop me a comment below or let me know if you have any questions on anything that I said today that was more technical, I know. But it is important to understand what you're working with, what you're using to send your money. So that's why I share videos like this every once in a while to educate you on the tech a little bit and how it impacts our finances and the overall system in crypto and Bitcoin. So I love you guys very much, and I'll catch you guys on my next video. Ciao.